Hey everybody, Shay here for the third part of this massive haul I got over the last 2 to 3 months at thrift shops. In the book sections, I had about 60 books. I've done 2 parts on this channel so far. I'm going to try to get through at least one column again today, but I'm going to try to push it to 2. But we got to jump into it if we're going to try to make this possible. So the first set of books I want to talk about has been a series, or I'm not sure, it's like multiple series, but an author in particular that I've been hunting down, and it's been very, very difficult, and I thought it would be a lot easier to pull this off. But it's for the Terry Pratchett books. Now, these are the ones I picked up maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. I found this book here, which is actually the folklore of Discworld, so it's not actually one of the books, and it is in awesome condition. I tend to pick up a lot of books in awesome condition. We got this Terry Pratchett here, The Dragons of Crumbling Castle, which is a YA with illustrations on the inside, but it was the only Terry Pratchett I found in like a year of looking for Pratchett books. And so these 2 books I found, but they weren't really part of any of those other series. And then recently, maybe in the 3 to 4 month mark, I found Monstrous Regiment, and this is in perfect friggin' condition. The spine's not even cracked. Crazy talk. And it was for $5. This one here was for $5, and this hardcover was for about $5.50 Canadian. In the last month or so, I got super lucky, and I finally found my first stack of Terry Pratchett. So the first one up is The Color of Magic. I actually ended up reading this the same weekend I got it, $5, perfect condition. The read was a lot of fun. I have been told not to start with The Color of Magic on YouTube and off of YouTube, that this is not really, this isn't really the writing style that he's really well known for. But I like to read in continuity, publication order, however you might put it, so that I can kind of get a sense for the author's voice, or at least the progression of that voice through the series. And they're prolific. There's a lot of freaking books in the series, and a lot of them are in like mini-series, etc. But in any case, second book I found was Thud. So we got Terry Pratchett Thud, mass market paperback again. Relatively perfect condition, some staining around the edges, sunburn kind of stuff on the pages. You kind of get the sense of what this world is all about here, which is like the mythology, the way the planet works, quote unquote planet works, which is kind of amusing. I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these other ones play out. In any case, Thud, I don't know where this falls in terms of where the miniseries are. My spreadsheet is not up, but in any case, I am starting to crack through the list. We have the Going Postal book here again. Relatively decent condition. The spine is a little warpy, but pretty decent. It's got some minor fractures on it. But anyways, another Terry Pratchett, which I'm very happy to have found. I ended up finding a third book, or fourth at this point, The We Free Men, a story of Discworld. So bam, we got another one here. This cover, I'm not sure if there are multiple covers of this, multiple press versions, I'm not sure. The spine again, some warpage here, some cracking, well read, but no fraying on the corners and whatnot, so still pretty decent for $4.50 Canadian. Can't go wrong. We got another one. We got Terry Pratchett, Night Watch. Now I think I've heard this one being recommended, possibly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be one of the more recommended ones, just because of maybe it's more cohesive, or like from a world building perspective, or the character continuity. I'm not sure. I don't remember what I heard. It would have been over the last, 4 years on BookTube, just kind of hearing people talk about Pratchett. And I've known about Pratchett for decades, but I just never gotten into it. And this one in particular, absolutely no cracks in the spine. It's got some sun staining on the edges, but it's relatively decent condition. So there's a bit of a wedge here. The light can kind of pick up on it, but I ended up getting myself 5 Terry Pratchett books in the last month and a half or so. So in this is all in one haul. When I got this haul, they actually had Monstrous Regiment, but I didn't know that I already had it. And so thankfully, I didn't double up like I did some other books, because I didn't keep my spreadsheet up to date along the way. So I'm going to move past Terry Pratchett so that we can try to keep this clipping along. Now, this next series is another massive prolific one, and this has been about 1.5 years worth of searching for Jim Butcher books, and I let these fall on the way over to the camera. It's so unfortunate. So now they're out of order, out of continuity order, which is the way I like to put them on my shelf. But we got Grave Peril, we got White Knight, we got Stormfront, we got ourselves Summer Night, Full Moon. Nice wordplay there on some of these. And then Changes. So these were the ones that I picked up again in the last year or so. These have been getting very hard to find. Sometimes I find these books again and again, but worse condition. All of these spines, except for White Knight here, are perfect. The other mass market paperbacks are relatively decent condition. Even the whiting of the pages, there's only 2 books there with like yellowing from age or sun. And so for the Jim Butcher book that I found in the last month, it's Ghost Story. These are getting absolutely very hard to find. The spine is perfect perfect condition. Some aging on the page, on the coloring and whatnot. But the book is in pretty good condition. So Ghost Story, I forget what the count number. It's somewhere around 10 or 14. It's high. It's high. There's a lot of books in this series, and it's been running for quite a while now, a couple decades. I remember, I would say even 20 years ago, I remember, maybe, does that sound crazy? That there was like a show or something. I thought one of my friends was like getting into this when it was a TV show or something like that, or on Netflix. God, this feels like I'm hallucinating or inventing things, but I don't think so. Anyways, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's at least 13 books here. One of them is an anthology, so I was about right. But anyways, I just knew that from my friend's description of it back, again, maybe 2 decades ago, that it was like a urban mage. Pretty much it. That's pretty much that's what I had. So I was curious, but I literally, this crazy thing, I literally thought it was just a show. I didn't know that there was a whole book series written on it. I just thought it was like this premise that got made into a show and they rolled with it. So hey, books. I'd rather read the books, to be honest. I mean, maybe I'll see the show someday, but I'm kind of more curious about the books and the writing and whatnot. And I love prolific series, like authors that can take something and not serialize it, but like if it's in the same world and there's development of the main character through these different arcs and stories. That's why I love Hellboy so much, is that there is a bit of a continuity. Then it's not really like you can read any kind of Hellboy thing in whatever order you want. They generally compartmentalize it, but you do get a bit of an arc in the character's growth, especially in the graphic novels and whatnot. The novels sort of shimmy their way into the graphic novel continuity, but it's like it's decades of continuity and world building. And if you love that kind of stuff, read Hellboy. I'm deviating, but this is what I'm kind of, my point is that this is kind of what I'm hoping to feel when I get into Jim Butcher's Dresden series. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I realize my mic is all the way over there, so hopefully the sound's good, or I can fix it in post. But we're going to move on so that the sound is at least consistent. Okay, now I'm going to start cracking into a couple books that are one-offs, but I've heard about them on BookTube. So generally there's like books in my mind when I'm scanning the shelves, and there's like trigger memories of like someone talking about them on BookTube, etc., etc. And so I end up picking them up, especially if they're in decent condition. So this one is of the cozy lit. I don't know the term for this, but there's Legends and Latte. It's like fantasy mixed with slice of life, I suppose. And it just made me curious about how this reads, how it feels. And I just realized there's another book in the series, possibly right there. Bookshelves and Bone Dust. Is that a part 2 of the series? Same world kind of thing? I'm not sure, but anyways, it's a cafe or a barista, an orc barista. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I remember slightly, like maybe in the last year or so. This was a year and a half. Was all over BookTube. People talking about this as like the cozy read kind of thing. And so I'm curious about it, and I saw it, and I was like, that. It's rare that I see like these kind of indie. Is this considered an indie press book? I'm not sure. I think it is. But it's rare that I see these kind of pop up on the shelf. I'd like to hear about indie authors and indie books on BookTube. So those are extra special finds along the way. Because these are the kind of books you probably have to buy new because they're going to be so hard to find. And that goes to the next book I'm going to talk about, which isn't the book that I heard about, but the cover looked very familiar, especially this green spine. And I saw Bastards here, and I was like, wait, that sounds really familiar. Maybe it was on like Mike Reed's or something like that, or someone recommended Mike Reed. This was maybe 6 months ago. I'm not quite sure either. But it's basically you take Sons of Anarchy, you make it fantasy with half orcs. Was kind of the elevator pitch for it. And so I found this one, The True Bastards, which looks like a book in the series, like not the main book, but a book in the series. And it's about one of the female characters in, I was going to say the Sons of Anarchy, the Hog Riders. I like the idea that they ride hogs, but not like the motorcycle hogs, warthogs, man. Come on, I think it's just, I mean, maybe the joke is like, it's like one line that was a joke that became the premise of this entire idea. But I love that kind of OCD approach to writing. The author kind of just taking this idea that should be funny and really turning it into kind of a Sons of Anarchy kind of maybe brutal realism. Is this a term? Am I inventing things for this book? In any case, I'm looking forward to The True Bastards. I actually looked this up on Amazon or Chapters Indigo as soon as I saw it being talked about on BookTube, because I was like, oh, the premise just sounds amusing. It might be. Listen, I don't know if it's good or not, but I'm going to read this goddamn series. So I was going to buy it new, and I probably still will buy. Is it the Bastards? Why don't I just flip the cover? What was the name of the... It's something Bastards. It just starts right away on chapter 1. Okay, let's check the back cover. The Grey Bastards. Thank God the quote there at least brought it up. The Grey Bastards. So it says, yeah, non-stop action, though not for the faint hearts. We got grim but brilliant. Featuring deadly battles balanced with intricate world building and skilled characterization. An immense and gripping tale of survival and sacrifice. Filthy, charismatic, and frankly excellent. None of them talk about half-orcs riding hogs. that aren't motorcycles. That's the pitch you want to sell, man. Come on. Anyways, so the Gray Bastards, I'll buy that one you, and then I got the True Bastards, and I think in my recon of this, there might be a third book. I'm not sure, but in any case, I'll probably read the series. This feels like it's right up my alley, and I'm going to enjoy it. And so I will be back and give you my thoughts on that when I get there. I'm not going to go grab the books for this series because there's a lot of them, and they're all hardback. So it's the Shannara series hardbacks. I've heard about these since the 90s, since I was a teenager. People reading about this. This was prolific back when it was a trilogy or two trilogies at the time, and then it just kept going, kept going. I had no idea how long, like I had no idea that it kept going to the degree that it did. But I've got most of the entire collection, except for the very modern books in the series. I sort of capped myself at some point. I think it's like the Voyager. I'm kind of in the dark, but maybe you can't. It's that row right there. All of that is Shannara. In any case, there was the first King of Shannara. This mass market paperback I saw a couple times, not always in amazing condition. I believe maybe once I saw this in hardcover. I could be hallucinating again. It was far away and I wouldn't have been able to go back, but the cover was in bad condition or something like that, and I didn't pick it up and I regretted it because like I've never been able to find that again. But I do find the mass market paperback of the first King of Shannara pretty regularly, and it's generally in bad condition, and this one was the best one I found. And I just like, I just want to eventually get into the series. I'm literally missing the first book of the series because I want the first edition print of the hardcover, the one I'm talking about, from like the late 70s or something. And it was quite honestly like maybe a year and a half ago, maybe one of the first books I saw when I started doing this thrift book hunt. And the cover was like half ripped, like the sleeve on the cover was in really, really bad condition. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get it. But then book 2 and 3 were there, and so I got book 2 and 3, and I didn't get the first book, and I super regret it because I've been looking at used book sites out there where you can like pick up these books, and that first hardcover is actually worth quite a bit of money. Like to buy it secondhand in terrible condition, it doesn't matter. You're going to be paying not quite $100 Canadian, but like it was getting up there. It was like 60s, 70s, 80s, and I was like, well, that makes sense. Someone probably just picked up that book and like resold it, right, for a higher amount on eBay or like one of these used bookstore sites. Is Thrift Books, is that like a site? I forget. It's great for the American side of the world, but for the Canadian, the shipping just completely mangled. I was like, there's so many books you can get there that plug the holes in your series. I should look this up if I'm going to be talking about it. Is it Thrift Books? Yes, thriftbooks.com. Awesome site, awesome way to again make sure you complete your series here and there. And they'll mark like the book quality. So if I ever had a second address in the States, I know where I'm going to be getting all my books at this point. But in any case, right now, if I find book 1, and I found it in, I think, softcover or mass market paperback, I see it here and there, but I'm not going to buy it. They're always in terrible, terrible, terrible condition as well. And so I just can't do it. And I need to make it match. And so I'm going to hold out, even if I have to buy one for 60 or 70 bucks at some point, just so I can start the series. God damn it. I'm just going to do it and ship it. And it's probably going to cost me $100 Canadian. It's going to suck, but hey, I made so much savings on buying all of these other thrift books at these thrift shops that, you know what, sometimes you just gotta take a hit. Editor Shea interception for Terry Brooks's The Elf Stones of Shannara and The Wish Song of Shannara, just so you have context as to what edition I was talking about for the first book that I didn't pick up when I saw these two. The trilogy was there. Crazy, crazy me. I didn't pick it up, but for their age, they were in really good condition, and the first book was not. And so, dumb me, I was like, oh, they probably printed a bunch of these books, so they're going to keep popping up. Nope. No, they don't. And these were for $6 each, and they're great. But anyways, now I'm looking for book 1, so I can actually start the Sword of Shannara series at some point or the other. There you go. Do I keep going? I'm at the under 20-minute mark. I can't believe I actually made it. I'm going to keep going. I ended up finally finding a Dune book. So this cover kind of called out to me. It looked really nice. And there's only some bowing, like some rippling here because the cover is kind of flimsy. Maybe there's humidity in the house or whatever. But the spine itself doesn't have any creases, which is crazy. I mean, there's just like a minor one from, someone who's a careful reader, I suppose. Because like to really read these pages, you're going to crack that middle right there, but it doesn't look that cracked. So I figured, you know what? I would love to read Dune. I've heard so many good things about the way it's written. Again, like the story, I've been watching them. I love the new movies that are coming out, by the way. And I've always known about Dune. Jeez, I've known about Dune, right? But I've never read it. So Frank Herbert Dune, and this is only for $4. That was a crazy deal for this chunky bastard. And eventually, I'm probably gonna put this on a TBR. Soonish, maybe this year for sure. I want to get through Dune before the third movie comes out. I want to read this. Anyways, it's one of those books you have to read at some point or the other, right? And so this was the best, I guess, looking book that I found. In terms of page quality, it's a little bit aged and it's a little bit warpy, but hey, hey, it's a book, and one day maybe I'll get it in hardcover, and it'll all work out. So that's Frank Herbert's Dune. Do I keep going? Maybe I do. There's a series, you can kind of see it. No, you can't see it at all. Anyways, there's one book there for Black Company. It's editor Shay here to intercept again, because maybe I should have gone to pick up the book just to give you context as to what Black Company book I was talking about. It's this trade dress right here from Tor, paperback. I mean, this one was already in awesome condition, but this is Chronicles of the Black Company, and each of these include 3 complete novels. So this is the series I'm kind of wanting to look for because it would match on the shelf, but the other ones are kind of cool as well. But I want that series because I know it exists, and they're so hard to find, and I think I found them in mass market paperback. But then I've seen this version of some of these books, which I guess these are collected in those ones, and I want those collected editions. But this is a hardcover for this Glenn Cook, She Is the Darkness, and it is book 2, unfortunately. So now where am I going to get book 1? Well, maybe one day at thriftbooks.com or something like that. If I really can't find it and I'm desperate to get into the series and read it right away, I'm just going to buy it, whether it's new or I don't think you can get these ones new anymore. These look like an older printed version of the Black Company series. You can kind of tell by the trade dress and the fonts being used and stuff like that. It's just a nice quality to some of these older printed books, So I also found book 3 of this, Water Sleeps, Black Company, and so it does match this sort of trade dress going on here. And so I'm gonna really want to have book 1 of this one now, at least, so that these 3 will sit on the shelf, these Tor book editions, and they will match. I mean, if I could get all of them in this format, I guess I would, and that will just be an extra book that I have around. It depends on what I find first, because these pages are otherwise are in decent condition, you know what I mean? These books are in good condition. They're hardcovers, they're sturdy. I started thinking it was maybe a library edition, but there's no stamps on the inside or anything like that. I've heard so many good things about the Black Company. I've talked about this on early vlogs of this channel when I started 2 years ago, where this was one of those series, and I think it was my first vlog on this channel. I'm not even sure if it's still up, but I tried to find out why I was aware of the Black Company, and I could swear it was from a Dragon magazine or a Dungeon magazine or a Polyhedron magazine, like one of those Paizo publishing Dungeons and Dragons magazines. I could swear this, and it was it would have been a 25-year-old memory. I went to my shelf with all of those books, and I tried to scan through all of them, and it was like a conversion of the Black Company, or it was an article about the Black Company, or it was something, man. It was something, but I have no idea where it is, but I have a distinct memory of reading the article, man, and going, what is this all about? Is this a book? Blah, blah, and I remember looking it up, and adding it to my my cart on Amazon. I'm saying, in the earliest of Amazon accounts. We're talking 2006, 8, 10, whatever it was. It was early, it was a long time ago, man. As soon as I could have a wish list, this might have been one of the first books I put on my wish list, just because I was so curious about the whole dark fantasy thing. And again, this was at a time where grim fantasy wasn't really a term. I at least wasn't aware of grim fantasy until I was on BookTube and hearing people about talking about grim fantasy over the last 4 years, or the idea of Dark Souls. I just started playing Dark Souls 5 years ago, and so there's a bit of I had the context to go, oh, there's it's kind of that vibe, but in literature. And then Black Company came up. It's oh, so that's kind of that made a connection point. And then there was Abercrombie. I'm gonna shove one more book in here, because I started reading Joe Abercrombie 2 months ago. I didn't finish. I'm about halfway through. The Blade itself is what I started reading. Anyways, I found this one right here. It's in the same trade dress here. It's for the heroes. I'm not even sure where this fits inside the continuity of the books. I'm not sure, but I love the texture of these pages, these books, and I would buy these new, to be honest. So if I find these along the way, I'm going to buy them. This is not new, but it's relatively new. The spine is okay. There's no creases in it. So Grimdark, right? It's that's what the continuity I'm trying to make here is after reading Abercrombie, I was I kind of get it a little bit more. It's getting a little bit, I'm getting, I wrap my head around what that genre feels like and what it could be from how you read it. There's just how the characters play out, how the setting is it's brutal and it's real, and it's a vibe, and so I'm kind of gotten into it, and I've really been enjoying it, and so I can't wait to return back to that one. And it's one of those books where I might want to just keep reading, but I'm gonna have to buy them new. I want to keep reading, but I love the world that he's building. I love the characters he's building, and it's some of the more enjoyable, I guess, reading I've done in a while, to be honest. So looking forward to the heroes as well. I'm not sure if this is part of that continuity or another trilogy. Did I look this up at some point? Let me just quickly look. I think I'm ahead of time. The Blade itself, we got Before They Are Hanged and Last Argument of Kings and then I got a Best Served Cold. So I'm not sure where all of this fits. I'm gonna have to relook it up online if the Heroes is part of the second series. Listen, I don't know how many of these books there are. It's just a series I'm going to be tracking down because I think this author is going to be someone I enjoy reading. So there you go. I'm going to stop it there because I'm looking at another crazy stack of books, but I'm going to keep that to another episode so that this one stays relatively short and doesn't get out of hand. And I'll catch you in the fourth part of this at some point soon, a few days. I'll catch you there. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.